Alrighty. I don't think I was probably terribly stealthy at that, but I was just trying to see if everything was working, and I don't know that it is, but it looked like it, and all of it says that I'm getting sound levels. Bear with me one sec. I'm going to unmute this and see if you can hear me. I'm going to unmute this and see if you can hear me. Awesome. Okay. So it's saying that my connection is... Okay, that's weird. I don't know. I feel like I start every single stream with Bujida, Bujida, Bujida. I don't know. Alrighty. So today we will be continuing on with Married Thrice to Salted Fish, going up to we're starting with chapter 63 today. Oh. Wait, am I reading that right? No, I'm in the wrong book. I'm like, that doesn't look right, because it wasn't. So let me just pull this up here. I can go down. We're reading Married Thrice today, not The Wife is First. That's much better. That's the one. I have also been reading over the past few days two other Danmei. I started another one today, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I didn't think that I would like this one that I just started today, but I'm surprised how much I do. Only because I don't usually like sci-fi. So I don't like the interstellar fix where it's, spaceships and aliens and that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of that. But this one had a premise where the premise was so intriguing that I had to give it a shot. I had to give it a try. So, and I did, and it's surprisingly really good so far. It says that there's a lot of sex in it, and I believe it. It's like the chapter that I just, like, they had 3 chapters back to back, which started with what was it? One started with blowjob and then anal sex and something else. Like, there are 3, like, that was the chapter titles. But let me pull it up here. So I do like angst, but it has to be a very certain kind of angst. Let me see here. And with this angst, let me see if I can find it so I can read you the proper... I'm worried because it's not one that seems to be constantly updating. And there it is. And so I'm worried that I'm going to get to the end of it and it's going to be like forever for it to come back up. So it's called Application for Divorce. It's an interstellar one. Let me, you know what? Yeah, let me go right over to it. Where's my books? Pop over to this screen. So this is it here. Pull it out. Push that down because I don't want you to see that. Okay. So this is it here. And so the premise of it is that this guy's a major war general, and this is his wife, his husband. Well, they call them, what do they call them? New females. So think omegas, right? So they can have babies. But they don't call them that. They call them new females. Anyways, the premise is that when he was younger, he fell in love with this guy at first sight and tricked him or forced him somehow. This is in the summary. I'm not spoiling anything. Somehow forced this guy to marry him. And this guy proceeds to be a complete a-hole and hates the little one and despises them and makes them feel like shit. So this scene opens with this little one asking for a divorce. Not of this guy. He's like going to a special office saying, I want a divorce. And the person who's there kind of, are you sure? Are you sure? Think about it. So as this one's walking out of the office, he gets a call that this guy has been injured and has lost his memory. So it's an amnesia but there's something about it that's really engaging. I don't know how to properly describe it. So there's going to be mpreg. We know this. Deal with it. This is my tag. This is my favorite, doting love interest. But it's so good right now because there's a lot of, it's very bittersweet. So he's lost his memory, so he's not himself, so he's not acting like an a-hole. And the uke or show is so starved for love and attention that every time he's talking about, and he takes the little step back, it's like, oh, you want to be near me? You're not disgusted with me? Like, honestly, just talking about it brings me to tears. Like, it's so relatable. But so when you have this doting love interest, so he's like, I'm going to soak up all of this goodness for as long as I can before he regains his memories and remembers that he hates me. Right? As this is coming from the show, who has loved this man. No, show is not his name. It's like seme and uke in Japanese and sho and gong in Chinese. So this is the show, and he's Lu Tao is the gong, and then Cheng Jin is the uke. No, did I get them mixed up? Is the show. Yeah. So 7 years ago, Cheng Jin forced and persuaded Lu Tao to marry him. After suffering from the other's cold treatment, being hated after the marriage, and experiencing being broke, he finally decided to let go. His husband, yet, unexpectedly lost his memory and fell in love with him. Cheng Jin not only was delighted, but felt unrivaled agony, because he knew that this love had an expiration date. So it's very good. I highly recommend it. So far, it could end up being shit. I am only to chapter... Oh yeah, so here's like this. Blowjobs, condoms, sodomy, fucked in the womb. Like, it's all NC-17, NSFW. That being said, I did not know that before I signed on. And so it's one of those things where it's hard to skip past them, because every time you're hearing how much the show loves his gong, like how much Cheng Jin loves Lu Tao, like it's like a stab in the heart. So yeah, if you like that kind of angst, it's gonna be good. I'm hoping with this, I have no idea where this is going. I'm hoping, though, I would like to see it as, so Lu Tao is given 6 to 8 months for his memory to come back. I would love to see it where all of a sudden he gets his memory back, but he hides it from Cheng Jin. Yeah. Because you know the poor little guy's gonna be like on edge. Oh, and apparently it has a manga. Well, it's not manga. What do they call them? Not Danmei. That's the anime. I can't remember the name. But yeah, so apparently this is, look for this. What is it? What does that say? Continued love? I don't know. It's very interesting. Very interesting. I can't wait to see where this goes, because he's an asshole. He is an asshole. And right now he has no memory, and everyone's trying to hide from him that he was an asshole. Meanwhile, the show, he goes through, like, he's had a lot of shit happen, and he's just trying to hide it from his husband, because his husband thinks that he's, because he doesn't want his husband to think that he's faking it or making it up, or you know, even more deplorable than his husband already does. So it's sad in that. So where it says slight angst is the good angst. I haven't gotten to the comedy bits. I have not laughed out loud. I just feel really, really, really bad for Cheng Jin, and I wish him all the best. Okay. So, after that nattering on, once again, we're going to start today with chapter 63, and we're going to be going up to 66 today. Wait, let's count on our fingers. 63, 64, 65, 66. 4 chapters, yes. So we're going to go up to chapter 66 today, and it's updated up to chapter 68. So next Tuesday, we will not be reading Married Thrice. We will be having a double episode of The Wife is First. And then on Wednesday, we'll also have an episode of The Wife is First. And then the Tuesday after that, then hopefully we will have 4 chapters and we'll be able to continue on with Married Thrice. Okay. I have announcements to make about the podcast, but we'll wait and save those to the end. Oh, wait, while I'm doing this. Yeah, let me just move this over real quick. Oh, no, wait, I did that the wrong way. I did that the opposite way from what I need. Let me just close that screen from you for a moment. I just want to pop onto Twitch and see just, who else is reading, if anyone else is on. Oh. So Anime North is this weekend. It's starting on Friday. Good. And it goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I am super freaking excited. So excited. Bags are getting packed and it's all super duper good. Okay, there. And so everything's kind of been taking a back seat to thoughts of the convention, getting stuff together. Excuse me. There we go. This is where I wanted to be. And hey, what is that? That's weird, but okay. And okay. So yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, about so Anime North is coming up this weekend. So all thoughts have been regarding the convention and getting ready for that. And so everything else has taken kind of a backseat. Well, I say everything else, I mean the podcast. Something had to go. And I think my listeners on the podcast are used to me spacing out. But then I come back with really long chapters, so hopefully they don't forgive. Okay. Alrighty. I'm about ready to start. I should put this in a different place because at some point I will end up hitting the microphone. I'm trying to find a place for my drink. That's what I was talking about. So we're getting ready for the convention. So we had half a spa day today, and then another spa day tomorrow. It helps that I work at a spa, and I can do it after my shift. But I just got my legs waxed, and it's awful. I hate it so much. Oh, I hate waxing. Okay. Alright, and yeah, we'll keep doing this. I need to get like a... I don't know. Okay. I start a sentence and don't finish it. Okay. Married Thrice is all the fish. Marker. Chapter 63. I have long forgotten about Lord Liu Xiaohou. Oh, Young Master Hou. I think that, yeah. Young Master Hou. After Lin Rushan was reinstated, serving by the emperor's side was handed over to him. Lin Qingyu finally didn't have to look at the emperor's face, so similar to Xiao Qiang's every day. Father Lin's medical skills were superior to Lin Qingyu's. With his wonderful hands, the emperor's condition got better day by day. Although he had yet to recover, the frequency of his headaches had decreased, and as long as he didn't get sick, he could go about like most ordinary people. In the Eastern Palace, Xiao Chang's injury seemed to be getting better. Xiao Chang's injury seemed to be getting better. However, that sword wound damaged his very core, and no amount of recuperating would return him to his past condition. The day-to-day consumption of medicines made his already not-so-good temperament even more violent and volatile. We're recording, right? The Tanjing camp had long lost any clue of Shen Huixi's whereabouts, and Xiao Qiang couldn't bring himself to care about anything else. The emperor, in consideration for him having met such a devastating setback, was indulgent of his various disagreeable behaviors. However, he still sent Zhu Ying to, through innuendo, deliver reminders to the crown prince. It had very little effect. How could someone as arrogant and conceited as Xiao Qiang endure being turned into a medicine jar? What made him even more resentful was that it was Shen Huixi, who had grown up with him, who made him like this. How much had he schemed? How many people had he killed to get to where he was today? Only to fall to a shadow guard. How could he possibly be reconciled? He would never give up until he brings Shen Huixi back to him to slaughter. In the emperor's sleeping chamber, Lin Rushan had just finished performing acupuncture for the emperor. The emperor's body was relieved, but his heart was discontent. Although Lin Qingyu and Lin Rushan were father and son, their appearances were not very similar. Lin Rushan was just an average, handsome man, but Lin Qingyu's radiance and beauty was a true rarity. If it weren't for the inauspiciousness of a male wife, he would not have replaced him. When Lin Rushan was about to withdraw, the emperor asked casually, "What has Lin Qingyu been doing recently?" Lin Rushan's face changed slightly, and he said, "My son has been in the Imperial Hospital for the past few days, dispensing medicine for His Majesty." The emperor hesitated. Thoughts of inauspiciousness weighed on his heart. He waved his hand. "Forget it. You may withdraw." Lin Rushan returned to his residence with worries on his mind. Then he saw a majestic Ferghana horse standing by the entrance of the Lin residence. He recognized this horse. This was Gufu Zhou's steed, only that it was a lot fatter than it was in the past. He hurriedly entered the residence and asked the housekeeper, "Did General Gu come to visit?" The housekeeper, a strange expression on his face, said, "Yes. The general is inside, drinking tea with the madam, and the eldest young master." Then Ruhan said, "Qingyu has returned as well?" Perfect timing. He wanted to remind him to be careful of the emperor. When he reached the courtyard, Lin Rushan realized that it wasn't only the two of them who had come. There were a lot of new faces in the yard. All of them must be from the general's mansion. Yuan Yin of the general's mansion was instructing them to bring in mahogany boxes one after the other. The mahogany boxes were tied with festive red silk, like they would be if they were being used to propose marriage. The point was, the Lin residence has no daughters. Oh, he is a smart man. Lin Rushan walked into the main hall, mind full of doubts, only to see that his wife's face was even more complicated than that of the housekeepers. Seeing him come back, Mother Lin, as though having been relieved of a great burden, seemed to locate her backbone. Master. Lin Rushan first saluted Gufu Zhou, who quickly helped him back up. He asked, General, this is... Gufu Zhou smiled and said, Adopted father, I'm here on my behalf to propose a marriage. Lin Rushan and his wife looked at each other. Dare I ask the general, to whom are you here to propose marriage? Lin Qingyu said, Me. I can't. No, I just had this. Just like this really is. Put upon me. Sorry. I'll stop. That's just it. That's what I thought. Me. Compared to Gufu Zhou coming to propose marriage, what shocked Father Lin and Mother Lin more was the attitude of their eldest son. Last time, when the Nan'an Hou's mansion came to propose a marriage, Lin Qingyu viewed being a male wife as an utter disgrace and almost found death preferable. However, in the end he had to obey, unable to go against the imperial decree. Why was he so calmly agreeing this time? Gufu Zhou patiently explained to the two. The Emperor intends to bestow a marriage upon me. The candidate he has chosen for me is either his own daughter or one of the daughters of those civil servants. In my view, none of these girls can be trusted. Keeping any of them by my side would be akin to raising a tiger. Therefore, I wish to settle my marriage before the Emperor's decree arrives. Mother Lin still couldn't understand. The general is wise, divine and mighty, a peerless hero. There must be many women who truly admire the general. The general could choose an admirable lady from any of the military families. Why would you insist on marrying my family's Qingyu? Faced with this question, Gufu Zhou looked at Lin Qingyu for help. Lin Qingyu didn't want to worry his parents, and so he hadn't told them about his situation in the palace. At this moment, he simply said, The Lin residence has been under the protection of the general. Marrying the general, the advances would outweigh the disadvantages. For me, and for the Lin residence. Mother Lin didn't understand this. She still remembered the humiliation her son suffered the first time he was made to be a male wife. She looked at her husband. Master. Lin Rushan, who was silent for a long time, said, I understand. His eldest son did this not only to help General Gu, but also to avoid disaster for himself. The Emperor has already begun to have such thoughts about Qingyu. Maybe one day another imperial decree would come down, ordering him to enter the harem as an attendant. By then, it would be too late to think of a way out. Lin Qingyu had once been a male wife. Finding a girl from a well-matched family, even if someone were to be willing, he himself could not agree. It would be better for the two to get together in this way and take care of each other in the future. Hello. Sorry.
Since you two have already considered this matter, we will not object,
Lin Rushan said.
Only that I am afraid His Majesty might not agree so easily.
Gu Fuzhou smiled and said,
Do not worry, father-in-law. Just leave this matter to me.
He called him father-in-law so quickly and with such practiced ease that it shocked everyone except Lin Qingyu. Seeing that the men were going to settle the matter like this, Mother Lin couldn't help but say, But it hasn't been a year since the young Master Hou passed away. Her husband wasn't sensitive enough, and he might not have been able to see it. But after Wancheng left, Lin Qingyu remained calm and unruffled on the surface. He shed not even a single tear for Wancheng. He has been like this since he was a child. His emotions were not so easily exposed. Only she, as his mother, knew that Qingyu had felt more distress than anyone. Gu Fuzhou said,
Is mother-in-law worried about rumors?
Mother Lin hesitated. It's not just this. Lin Qingyu knew what his mother meant.
Do not worry, mother,
Lin Qingyu whispered.
I have long forgotten young Master Hou. Who is Wancheng, and what does he have to do with me?
Gu Fuzhou. That's a little harsh. With Lin Qingyu having said so, Mother Lin had nothing left to say. The rings had been given, and the acquaintances of Lin Qingyu's family, Oh, sorry. Okay. The rings had been given, and with the acquiescence of Lin Qingyu's family, Gu Fuzhou entered the palace immediately without delay. Lin Qingyu was going to accompany his parents for dinner at home before leaving. Lin Qingyi took the opportunity to stick to his brother and asked, Gaga, do you really want to marry General Gu? He had not been allowed to listen in on the adults' discussion, but he still learned of this matter from his Momo. Lin Qingyu nodded.
Yes.
But the general, he's too old, Lin Qingyi said, feeling aggrieved for his brother. He's 12 years older than Gaga. Lin Qingyu smiled.
He's not that old.
In terms of actual age, Gu Fuzhou was even a year younger than him. Lin Qingyi begged, Gaga, can't you find another husband like Wancheng? Lin Qingyu told his brother that if he did not marry the general, who was 12 years older, he might be taken as a male concubine by an old man 40 years older. Lin Qingyi then reluctantly agreed to the marriage. Meanwhile, Gu Fuzhou met the emperor in Chengjing Hall. The emperor's complexion had improved by more than a little. It probably won't be long before he appears in morning court.
Qing has come just in time, the emperor said. Have a look at Zhao Mingwei's urgent report from Yongliang.
Zhao Mingwei said in his urgent report that Xie, after several months of recuperation, had returned in a swirl of dust and that the momentum of their return was strong. They have successfully captured 3 small cities of the Dayou. After several defeats, morale in the army was unstable. General Gu was urgently needed back in Yongliang to preside over the overall situation. Gu Fuzhou remained calm, but thousands of horses were galloping in his heart. He had no misconceptions on just how much of an influence he could have over the overall situation. Winning streaks depend on luck, and they were bound to be followed by a losing streak. Quitting while he was ahead kept his win rate high. Zhao Mingwei was engaged in hundreds of battles, and his win rate may only be 60%, but it was much more secure than his 100% win rate in just 5 battles. The emperor once again said,
I told you before that you may have entered the capital alone, but I wish to see you leave the capital as one of a pair. The day before yesterday, because of the crown prince's sudden illness, the matter of your marriage was delayed. Now, it cannot be delayed any longer. You should settle matters of your home first. That way, there would be no need for you to worry while you are in Yongliang. The Empress has introduced you to many noble ladies. Do you have a favorite candidate in your heart?
Gufu Zhou closed the memorial and said,
Speaking of this matter, I have gone to the national teacher Zhu to ask for a divination regarding my marriage.
Oh? The emperor had always respected the enigmatic national teacher.
What did he say? The national teacher said that this minister should take a male wife, a male born on the 11th day of the 3rd month of the year Gui Wei. Only in this way might I have divine help on the battlefield.
Male wife? The emperor frowned.
Did the national teacher really say that? Indeed. Your Majesty had once made an exception to allow the late Young Master Hou to marry a male wife. I hope His Majesty will make another exception for this minister.
The emperor said,
Do you know there is talk about the inauspiciousness of a male wife? The national teacher said that the auspiciousness and
What is that? Omnious? Ominousness? Oh, that's what it is.
The national teacher said that the auspiciousness and...
Oh my god, why did I forget again?
Omnious.
When something's ominous.
Ominousness.
That's the one.
Ominousness depends on the person. A male wife might be ominous to others, but to this minister, it is an auspicious sign.
Given the precedent, it was not so easy for the emperor to refuse, and so he said,
Have you found the man with the matching 8 characters? I have. By coincidence, my adopted brother, the imperial physician Lin Qingyu, was born on the 11th day of the 3rd month of the year Gui Wei.
The emperor suddenly rose to his feet.
Lin Qingyu? You mean Lin Qingyu?
He got up so suddenly that his body was not in good shape. It was inevitable that he would be a little unsteady on his feet. Xu Ying hurriedly stepped forward to help. Your Majesty, please look after your body. The emperor realized his loss of control and said,
Lin Qingyu is an extraordinary talent in the Imperial Hospital. My continued health is dependent on him. How can he possibly marry you?
Gufu Zhou said,
This presents no conflict. Since the Imperial Physician Lin is a man who has already entered the office, he shall continue to perform his duties in the future just as he has done so in the past. This minister has no need of him to serve as a madam of the household. Ridiculous!
The emperor slammed his hand on the table.
How could I allow a male wife to hold the... How could I allow a male wife to hold a 5th rank official position, mingling with the civil and the military officials in the palace? Mingling with the civil and military officials in the palace.
Gufu Zhou's tone became a little colder.
Imperial Physician Lin used to be a male wife. Despite this, Your Majesty still gave him an official position. Imperial Physician Lin came up with the cure for the epidemic, and the medicine for your majesty's headaches. It is in consideration for the emperor's health that this minister is willing to allow my wife to continue to serve in the palace." The emperor said coldly, "I have yet to agree and already you call him wife." Gufu Zhou raised the corner of his lips slightly. "As your majesty has said, I should settle matters of my home first. That way there would be no need for me to worry while I'm in Yongliang."
Gufu Zhou knelt down and saluted.
"I ask that the emperor grant his permission."
Hearing the threat in Gufu Zhou's words, the emperor grew furious, and a fierce headache bore down upon him. Unable to attend to anything else, he cradled his head and said impatiently,
"Relay my word to Lin Rushan."
News that Lin Qingyu was going to remarry Gufu Zhou spread like wildfire. After a lapse of more than a year, the Lin residence has once again become a talking point for the after-dinner gossip among the capital's rich and powerful families. It might be more accurate to say that the Lin residence hasn't stopped being the subject of rumors since the day Lin Qingyu married Wancheng. There were many rumors about Lin Qingyu in the Imperial Hospital. Several times, Hu Ji wanted to ask Lin Qingyu what was going on, but seeing the other party carry on like it was nothing, he swallowed the words once again. Lin Qingyu hated people who talked too much. If you wanted to make friends with him, you needed to know what to and what not to say. On this day, when Hu Ji came back from a doctor's visit, he caught sight of several censors walking together, talking about Lin Qingyu's remarriage. Although there is precedent for a male wife, the precedent proved unsightly. How could General Gu ask to marry a widowed male wife? I simply don't understand it.
I heard that he asked the national teacher for a divination, and that the national teacher said that Lin Qingyu could prosper him.
Nonsense! Gufu Zhou must have been bewitched by Lin Qingyu's beauty, so he asked the natural teacher to endorse him. With how much he indulges in homosexuality, would he not fall prey to a honey trap by the enemy?
In my opinion, it must have been Lin Qingyu who took the initiative to seduce him. Lin Qingyu, instead of doing his duty to remain a widow for his late husband, insists of going about being an imperial physician, head uncovered. I wouldn't be surprised by anything he does. It's a pity he has sullied General Gu's good name.
Hu Ji couldn't stand hearing these words, but given his standing, he didn't have the qualifications to come forward and stop them. He was about to take a detour when he heard a voice behind him. Ooh.
I say.
He and the censors looked back together. They saw Gufu Zhou dressed in a first-rank military uniform, 2 flying eagles embroidered on it, tall and lofty in stature, a stern expression on his face. He stood in front of the group of officials. It was no exaggeration to say that he looked the very picture of a crane towering over chickens.
That is enough,
Gufu Zhou said slowly.
Whose person do you think you are talking about?
Gufu Zhou's voice was unusually calm, but the faintly discernible, murderous desire made everyone present feel a sense of oppression. The censors exchanged glances and saluted him together.
This official greets General Gu.
Yang dared to say,
We are all censors personally appointed by the Emperor. As censors, it is our duty to strictly uphold the discipline and carry out our responsibilities to supervise. What we've caught wind of, we must report. Imperial Physician Lin has behaved improperly and acted shamelessly. For that reason, should we not talk about it?
Gu Fuzhou's eyes swept across the crowd one by one.
You listen carefully. It was I who asked the Emperor for permission to marry Imperial Physician Lin. Imperial Physician Lin was reluctant in every possible way and had no choice but to acquiesce because of my power. If you want to scold, then scold.
Yang said angrily.
The general is being so overbearing. Does the general intend to exchange blows with me? I can't.
As soon as Gu Fuzhou's voice fell, the officials all exploded in an uproar.
Of course not. This is the Imperial Palace, not the Northwest battlefield, nor is this the general's military camp.
Gu Fuzhou smiled.
Do you think that I have never fought in any other place save for the battlefield and the military camp?
Yang went red in the face.
Does the general have no respect for the emperor?
Seeing that the situation was turning serious, He Ji, afraid that Lin Qingyu would be implicated, rushed forward and said,
General!
Gu Fuzhou naturally remembered this imperial doctor who was closely related to the Lin family.
Is something wrong? General, calm down. After all, this isn't the palace. If it reaches the emperor's ears, the Imperial Physician Lin is blamed, then...
Gu Fuzhou was uninterested.
Get lost.
Gu Fuzhou had to head for Xinjiang Hall to discuss the war in the northwest with the ministers, and did not stay much longer. He Ji returned to the Imperial Hospital, and seeing Lin Qingyu looking at some medical records, he couldn't help but approach and lean over.
General Gu,
He Ji shuddered,
is a bit scary.
Lin Qingyu was a little surprised.
Why do you think so?
He Ji told Lin Qingyu what he had seen and heard just now.
It's no wonder how many souls has General Gu claimed with his Qingyan Jujo spear. Only the god of war of the Northwest like him could have overwhelmed those censors into silence with just his aura alone. However, I had always taken General Gu to be a restrained and gentle warrior. I never expected he would pick fights outside the battlefield.
Lin Qingyu couldn't help but smile when he heard these words. It seems there was a side to his once and future husband that he had not seen. The window laid open and a gust of wind blew through, bringing a slight chill. Lin Qingyu said,
Is it not getting colder?
He Ji said,
Indeed, winter is almost upon us.
Lin Qingyu let out an unwarranted sigh.
So quickly.
The story of winter was about to begin once again. The author has something to say. By fighting in some other places, does this salted fish mean that time he... By fighting in some other places, does this salted fish mean that time he fought at school and was punished to write a self-reflection after being caught? Nice. Oh yes, you're so badass. Okay, let me hydrate. How long was that? Not bad. Knock on wood. That felt a lot smoother than the last few times. All right. Facial stretches. Oh shit, that's right. I'll have to move that. Okay, we'll have to change that. Marker? Chapter 64. Why do people live? Just to marry a beautiful lady? Or is it, why do people live just to marry a beautiful lady? I think it's the first one. In the end, through gritted teeth, the emperor finally agreed to Gufuzhou's marriage to Lin Qingyu. War was once again breaking out in the northwest, and he had to appease Gufuzhou at this time. Furthermore, Zhu Jianyan, who said that this marriage between the two was a sign of auspiciousness, for the sake of the overall situation, he could only suppress his own selfish desires. He was the ruler of a country. Between the country and a beauty, which was more important and which was less, he could still tell. The emperor only acquiesced. He did not bestow the marriage. However, he did make a statement. A male wife may not re-enter the palace. Hearing this, Gufuzhou wanted to argue with the emperor. Lin Qingyu stopped him.
Don't worry. It won't be long before the emperor invites me back.
Gufuzhou pretended to complain.
Dr. Lin has done something bad again, but didn't take me with him.
Lin Qingyu said,
I don't think you can call this something bad.
On the day Lin Qingyu left the palace, most of his colleagues in the imperial hospital watched him from the sidelines. Aside from Hu Ji, who saw him off along the way, Chu Jingdi unexpectedly came to see him off. The old man still had on an ugly expression whenever he looked at him, and his words were still eccentric and cynical.
Marrying out of nowhere! You are failing to live up to your talent!
Lin Qingyu said indifferently.
It is precisely because of this talent that occasionally delaying for some time should be of no matter.
Xu Jingdi choked as he said, flustered and exasperated,
Hurry up and go! The very sight of you is unlucky.
Lin Qingyu did not immediately depart. A eunuch from the Eastern Palace found him and said that he was being invited by the Crown Prince. After many days, Lin Qingyu saw Xiao Cheng again. He almost couldn't help laughing. After spending a period of time wandering the edge of life and death, Xiao Cheng was now far from his high-spirited self of before. He had lost almost half his weight, resulting in sunken cheeks and pale lips. Even dressed in resplendent clothes, his sorry state could hardly be concealed. In Lin Qingyu's eyes, he was doing not much better than Shen Huixi at Changsheng Temple that day. When those eyes looked at Lin Qingyu, gone were his past haughtiness and rationality, his arrogance and distrust. Only stubbornness and resentment remained. Lin Qingyu delivered the standard salutation.
Greetings, Your Highness.
Xiao Cheng did not lock eyes with him like he did in the past. He went straight to the point.
Do you have any news of Shen Huixi?
Lin Qingyu raised his eyebrows.
Imperial Guard Shen is His Royal Highness's personal bodyguard. Why would His Highness ask me about him?
Xiao Cheng's lips were pursed tight. After so long, the Tenji camp had yet to uncover Shen Huixi's whereabouts. He had nowhere to vent his restlessness and resentment. He spent all day in the Eastern Palace, and no amount of smashing anything in sight could provide him release. The Tenji camp's shadow guard then asked tremblingly,
Asking your highness for pardon, but does Imperial Guard Shen have any relatives or friends? We can start from these people.
Xiao Cheng was stunned. After much pondering, he thought of Lin Qingyu. All of Shen Huixi's relatives and friends disappeared with the Heavenly Prison Sect 3 years ago. For the past 3 years, apart from himself, the only person Shen Huixi has had any interaction with was Lin Qingyu. Otherwise, he would not have appeared to plead for Lin Qingyu on Qingzhen's birthday.
You need only to answer Gu's question. Besides, did Gu allow you to ask anything?
Lin Qingyu said,
The last time this official saw Imperial Guard Shen was at the Imperial Physician's office. I do not know what he had undertaken for your highness, but he was injured all over. This official simply gave him a few medicines. That is all. Did he tell you anything?
Xiao Cheng didn't really hold out much hope that Lin Qingyu knew anything, but he really was at his wit's end. If there was any information, no matter how immaterial, he was going to hold on to it. Lin Qingyu thought for a moment and said,
He mentioned the Princess Jingchen. Jingchen?
Xiao Cheng asked impatiently.
What did he say? He said that...
I got the voices mixed up.
He said that he and the Princess Jingchen grew up together. Back then, the princess was forced to enter a political marriage to the north. He doesn't know how she has been these past 3 years.
Xiao Cheng asked,
Did he say he was going to the north?
Leading too deliberately would only make it too suspicious. Lin Qingyu said,
He never said that. He said that he was His Highness's shadow guard, and so naturally, he should always remain with His Highness.
Xiao Cheng narrowed his eyes and said,
We're done here.
Before leaving, Lin Qingyu asked,
Does your Highness know about my marriage with General Gu?
I know.
I know,
Xiao Cheng mocked.
Wancheng's body hasn't even grown cold. You're in such a hurry to remarry. Lin Qingyu, you really can't live without a man. However, what does a warrior like Gufu Zhou know of pleasure? And an invalid like Lu Wancheng never would have been able to satisfy you. If you had just given yourself to me sooner, you would have known the taste of marrow.
Marrow as in, like, deliciousness. Lin Qingyu could see that Xiao Cheng was just running his mouth. In his current state, even if the Princess Jingchen came back, he might not be able to produce a single... he might not be able to produce any sort of reaction.
Your Highness has repeatedly shown me your goodwill. I thought your Highness wished to see me for this matter. I didn't expect that your Highness would not even mention my marriage with General Gu, concerned only about the possible whereabouts of Imperial Guard Shen.
Lin Qingyu chuckled lightly.
It seems that in your Highness's heart, I am far less important than Imperial Guard Shen.
Xiao Cheng was dumbfounded, as though only realizing this himself. He then said, as if to convince himself,
Gu's only concern is is that he meet his punishment and suffer the consequences of his own actions as soon as possible.
Lin Qingyu said,
It must be as your highness says. This official will now take his leave.
I guess the drink can so dry. Regardless of the rumors flying about outside, Lin Qingyu and Gu Fuzhou's marriage was finally settled. The marriage had been decided in a hurry, but under the supervision of Mother Lin and Yan Yin, everything, from the engagement ceremony to the selection of the day of the wedding, went smoothly. When Lin Qingyu got married last time, he had basically prepared no dowry. This time, Mother Lin prepared a dowry list for him, but he said,
You can add a little more.
Mother Lin looked embarrassed. Qingyu, your father has been in office for so many years, and he has kept his hands clean all throughout. This is all that he has saved.
Lin Qingyu smiled and said, Mother misunderstood. I am the one getting married. Naturally, I shall pay for my dowry myself. How could I possibly use my parents' savings? Do not worry, Mother. I will have others handle this matter.
Mother Lin said worriedly, How will you pay for your dowry? How long have you been working?
I shall let Young Master Hou help me out.
Oh, that's good. Wancheng had left him so much property, he was worried he would have nowhere to spend it. Mother Lin was taken aback. This is not good.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Lin Qingyu smiled slightly.
If Young Master Hou, down in the netherworld, even knew, he might even urge me to bring more to the general's mansion.
Mother Lin only felt that she understood her eldest son less and less. However, she has never been one to interfere with Lin Qingyu's decisions, and finally she arranged for matters as Lin Qingyu wanted. Hello, Atkinson. Oh my god, if you haven't heard Serdd, that's absurd. She's got all the words, so come and say you've heard Serdd. I wasn't even aware that I rhymed. Thanks so much for popping in. It's lovely to see you. I always think that my early streams are too early. Let me see here. What we got? What's we got? Oh, wow. Yeah, 8 o'clock seems to be the turn-on time. Lovely. Thank you so much. Oh, I love the lanterns. So good. Yes, well, I'm just in, I think this is the middle or near the end of chapter 2, so we got 2 more to go. Thank you so much for popping in. I really appreciate it. Lovely to see you. Mother Lin only felt that she understood her eldest son less and less. However, she has never been one to interfere with Lin Qingyu's decisions. And finally, she arranged for matters as Lin Qingyu wanted. Unmarried couples were not allowed to meet in private before the wedding. Though Gu Fuzhou couldn't see him, it didn't stop him from sending a lot of things one after the other. For example, the wedding dress he was going to wear was personally selected by Gu Fuzhou and was delivered to the Lin residence by Yan Yin. Lin Qingyu knew that Gu Fuzhou had an inexplicable obsession with his wedding dress. He thought that Gu Fuzhou would choose a wedding dress that was even more elaborate than the one he had worn when they had first gotten married. Unexpectedly, though the wedding dress he sent was made from excellent brocade, there wasn't much embroidery on it. It was a simple scarlet dress, like a pure burning flame. Lin Qingyu touched the ring on his ring finger, and the relief on the And the relief on the ring, too, was very simple. Gufu Zhou's vision and tastes were not bad. He himself didn't like dressing up too garishly. A letter from Gufu Zhou came along with the bridal attire. In colloquial speech, it was an entire page filled with his complaints about being tired and hungry these days, how he could hardly bear it any longer. Afterwards, he lamented about human life, how it was meaningless, how it was better to jump into the lake if one can't eat meat. Lin Qingyu was puzzled. The general's tiredness aside, why would he be hungry? Yan Yin said helplessly, in order to motivate himself with his training, the general made his wedding attire a little smaller. He hasn't eaten much during the past few days, making do with green vegetables and radishes. Yesterday, he even grabbed me asking, why do people live? Just to marry a beautiful wife. The world is not worth it. Lin Qingyu. The current Gufu Zhou was actually quite tall, with broad shoulders and long legs. To say that he couldn't be made better wouldn't be too much of an exaggeration. Everything was just right. Lin Qingyu had deliberately said that his abdominal muscles were loosening in order to urge him to be diligent in his training. Getting in a bit more physical exercise wasn't a bad thing. Unexpectedly, it had been such a big blow to Gufu Zhou. Lin Qingyu laughed. Tell him I don't like men too thin either. Have him eat well. The author has something to say. Finally, it's second marriage time. Oh my goodness, that's too funny. That's too funny. He makes one crack about his abs, and now Gufu Zhou is on a diet to be able to get into his wedding attire. Oh my god, it's so cute. Alright. Chapter 3. Alright, let's go to Lucky Cat for assistance. Lucky Cat, oh Lucky Cat. Hi, kitty. Lucky Cat, I'd like some more viewers, please. And ones that actually stay and watch the stream. That'd be, thank you, Lucky Cat. They don't have to participate. Just being lurkers is fine. Please, Lucky Cat. Please, Lucky Cat. A few more viewers that stay and enjoy the stream with me. Okay. Oh, marker. Chapter 65. Why did he call him Old Lady on the wedding night? The second wedding night. While waiting for his wedding, Lin Qingyu stayed in the Lin residence, never going anywhere. He had others worrying about the many matters of his wedding. He spent every day reading books and accompanying his younger brother. In the blink of an eye, it was the eve of his wedding. That night, before Lin Qingyu had even slept for 4 hours, the matrons of honor, arranged by the general's mansion, arrived. Lin Qingyu still remembered that when he married Lu Wancheng, the Hou Mansion had also sent a pair of matrons. Perhaps he had been influenced by his emotions. The last time he saw a pair of matrons, he found them simply repulsive. Though he knew that they were just doing what they were instructed to do, he still held a grudge. Although, in the end, he didn't seek revenge against them. The matrons of honor who came this time were 2 dignified young women who waited upon him to wash and change clothes. Lin Qingyu asked, "As I remember, a bride is asked to bathe before washing up and dressing?" After bathing, regardless whether it was a man or woman, ointment would be applied to a certain part, as to facilitate the consummation of marriage with their husband. The matron smiled and said, "That is indeed the rule, but General Gu said that Dr. Lin may come however he feels comfortable." Lin Qingyu laughed.
"He is quite considerate."
Lin Qingyu still went to take a bath. Not for anything else, but to wash away the bad luck from the palace. Afterwards, the matrons dried his long hair and combed it smoothly. She asked, "Would Dr. Lin wish to wear a bridal crown?" Lin Qingyu asked,
"This decision is up to me?"
"Yes, according to the general's intentions. Even if Imperial Physician Lin wished to wear his everyday clothes for the wedding, he would have no objections." How could he have no objections? If he truly were not wearing his bridal dress of the wedding, that man would probably hang a smile on his face, but would complain endlessly in his heart.
"Do me up as you would any other of your male brides."
The matron looked carefully at Lin Qingyu's face and said, "But what could I possibly do? No matter what I paint on Dr. Lin's face, it would feel like drawing feet on a snake." Lin Qingyu said indifferently,
"Do you want a reward for such a sweet mouth?"
The matron covered her lips, smiled, and said, "How could I dare? I speak but truthfully." She opened the box and chose a piece of rouge paper. "Please, Dr. Lin, press this between your lips." Lin Qingyu hesitated for a moment. He took the rouge paper and pressed it between his lips. His pale lips were dyed a bright red. The matron darkened his eyebrows and drew a huai dian on his forehead. After doing so, the matron said with satisfaction, "Dr. Lin's complexion is just right, fair and flawless. I don't think there's any need to apply powder." Even if his complexion hadn't been good enough, he wouldn't have agreed to have any applied. Gufu Zhou could choose to look or not look. Lip rouge, darkening his brows, and a huai tian were the limit of what he could tolerate. The makeup was applied very quickly, and they had to wait another hour before his hair was done. The matron put on a man's special bridal crown for him. 2 servants each held one side of his bridal dress and opened it wide. "Dr. Lin, please change your clothes." The matron wanted to help him. I know that I gave her a really young voice, but I'm with it now. It's staying that. The matron wanted to help him, but Lin Qingyu said,
"I'll do it myself."
Arms went into the red sleeves, and the servants draped the bridal dress over him. When the matron tied it around his waist, she couldn't help sighing. Dr. Lin's waist is as slender as a woman's." The other matron joked, "You're wrong. Not every woman's waist is as fine as that." Finally, the matron covered him with the veil, and his field of vision was reduced to a swath of red. This scene seemed familiar. It was the most humiliating memory of his life. At that time, he never could have imagined there would be a day when he would be willing to become someone's wife. Even if he and Gufu Zhou had no choice but to do this in order to avoid disaster, it was nonetheless incredibly unthinkable. A thought flashed in Lin Qingyu's head. Was there really no other way out of their current predicament apart from marrying Gufu Zhou? Not necessarily, but he still chose to marry Gufu Zhou again. After much tossing about, it was finally dawn. As soon as the auspicious time arrived, Lin Qingyu went to the main hall of the Lin residence to say goodbye to his parents. Uh-oh, gotta sneeze. Oh no. Give me. Towards this matter of sending off their son to marry, Father Lin and Mother Lin were much more familiar with it now that they were doing it for the second time. No matter how complicated their mood was, It was much better than the last time. Getting chocolate. That's very precise. The two of them simply gave Lin Qingyu a few words of advice, and the welcoming party arrived. Most of the welcoming party were military officers, and leading them was General Wu, who Gu Fuzhou had a good relationship with. A welcoming party filled with warriors was always bound to be lively. However, today, the men were each more refined than the other. They had been reminded by General Gu to restrain themselves in front of the great beauty, to be on their very best behavior as they escorted him. Got it, victory. Chocolate, that's very specific. Is that chocolate ice cream? Is that chocolate pieces? Is it little bits of chocolate? Very precise. To be on there. Ooh, Cadbury. Deliciousness. Deliciousness. My cottage is up right beside or not right beside, but it's in the same town pretty much as our, up in Canada, we have the world famous, it's actually called world famous chocolate factory. Oh my goodness. Deliciousness. You can get bags and bags, like huge bags, because they're all broken and they're not good enough to be packaged, and you can get them for like $2. Like a 2-pound bag for $2. It's incredible. Oh my goodness. To be on their very best behavior as they escorted him to the bridal sedan. This was bridal sedan meant to be carried by 8 people. In the Dayu, only the first wife could enjoy this honor. The Lin resident's son's second marriage attracted many onlookers. General Gu's fame had spread to every household. He got his first wife in his 30s, and this wife happened to be a widow who has not yet been long into his widowhood. Truly, if one lives long enough, there is nothing one cannot see. Sorry. I'm not sure who's saying this. Oh, just random crowd. Okay. Ever since the Emperor bestowed a marriage between 2 men last year, people have been copying it left and right. My second uncle's youngest son just married a male wife not long ago. Public morals are degrading with every passing day.
What are these people doing? They refuse to marry a perfectly nice girl instead of taking home a male wife? Whatever for? They can't even bear children. If he were beautiful, even I would be willing to.
Beauty can bring calamities. He has already brought a family to ruin. Now he's going to bring calamity to our army. Who knows? Maybe someday he might bring disaster for the country.
Shh, you better shut your mouth if you want to keep your head.
The bridal sedan was lifted up, and step by step, it proceeded toward the general's mansion, leaving the gossiping crowd far behind. A vast and mighty entourage followed behind the bridal sedan, along with a procession of dowry stretching beyond what the eye could see. The welcoming team circled around half the capital, finally stopping in front of the general's mansion. The ceremonial official pronounced loudly,
"The bridal sedan!"
The bridal sedan's curtains were lifted, and Lin Qingyu was helped down the carriage and into the general's mansion. Immediately after crossing the threshold, a hand appeared beneath his veil. This hand was large and gentle, with thick calluses covering the finger pads. It was mottled and rough, easily recognizable as the hand of a martial artist. When he placed his hand in the other's, Lin Qingyu held a familiar and pleasant voice.
Dr. Lin is actually wearing a bridal dress. Our Dr. Lin is actually wearing a bridal dress.
Who else could be whispering to him at such a time? Lin Qingyu knew it was against the rules, but he still replied,
And you don't see a rosy... And you don't need a rooster to be your stand-in this time.
The whispering of the two was discovered by a matron of honor. She reminded them, General, you cannot talk to the madam at this time. Gufuzhou closed his mouth in a rare show of obedience. Lin Qingyu held hydrangeas in one hand and Gufuzhou's hand with the other. The two entered the main hall together. Gufuzhou has no parents, no relatives or elders. Sitting on the seats of honor were the old but vigorous Wu Gugong, where he received requests to preside over the couple's wedding ceremony. He grinned from ear to ear, repeatedly expressing his agreement. After offering their respects to the heavens, Lin Qingyu was sent to the bridal chamber first. Gufuzhou had to stay in the front hall to deal with the guests. As soon as the beauty left, the military officers shed all restraint and swarmed Gufuzhou. Gufuzhou's celebration party lasted from dawn till dusk. He himself would rather have not, but those military officers were really bothersome. Gufuzhou has never been the protagonist, urged by everyone to drink. But today, for the first time, he was faced with General Wu, who, once he had his fill, could make a complete nuisance of himself. He was made to drink until he couldn't tell east from west or north from south. In the end, it was Wu Gugong who helped him out of the siege, saying that they shouldn't get him flat out drunk, lest he be unable to penetrate the chamber. This caused the group of men to burst into laughter. Hooligans. Gufuzhou thought to himself, he could probably forget about any sort of penetration, but he could probably make off with some advantages by using his drunkenness as an excuse. Maybe he could touch his hair, or get the beauty to call him husband or something. On the way to the bridal chamber, Gufuzhou's feet were unsteady. The closer he got to the bridal chamber, the more his steps felt like they were floating, until he felt like his entire person was floating away. Everything in front of him looked like they were from a dream. He has married Lin Qingyu and brought him back home again. He himself had been the one to go through with the ceremony with him. Later, he would lift Lin Qingyu's veil and they would share a drink as husband and wife. What a beautiful traditional culture. He just loves it so much. Gufuzhou took a deep breath and placed his hands on the door with the word xie. He stayed that way for a long time before gently pushing open the door. Lin Qingyu heard the movement and raised his head up from his book.
Welcome back.
Gufuzhou was wearing robes the same color as his. He was stalwart and imposing, with sword brows and starlit eyes. No matter from which angle, he appeared to be a mature man. Only those eyes, when they looked at him, would faintly reveal a youthful spirit that others could not discern. The two looked at each other. Gufuzhou opened his mouth, but no words came out. He backed out and closed the door again. Lin Qingyu. Huh? Before Lin Qingyu could figure out the situation, the door was pushed open again. Gufuzhou confirmed that he hadn't seen wrong. He said, bewildered,
Where's my red veil? Where's my big red veil?
Oh my god, that's so cute. Where's my big red veil? Aw. I can't even with them, oh my god.
You mean the bridal veil?
Lin Qingyu looked at the table.
I placed it there.
Gufu Zhou's expression froze. He stared at Lin Qingyu's face and said accusingly,
You're not supposed to do it like that, right? Shouldn't I be the one to remove the bridal veil?
Well, it is in the way. While the husband was drinking happily outside, the wife could only sit waiting in the bridal chamber for most of the day. Thinking this wasn't the first time they were getting married anyway, and given how familiar he and Gufu Zhou were with each other, they could just do away with many of the rituals. So, for the rest of the day, he read one of his books. Oh my god. He's after my own heart. I freaking love Lin Qingyu. I just love him. Gufu Zhou faintly exuded resentment. Oh my god. He's drunk and it's cute. I can't even with him. Oh my god. I don't know if I can get this out. Gufu Zhou faintly exuded resentment. Can't even.
Admit that you were wrong. Admit it quickly and I won't be angry.
Lin Qingyu didn't think there was anything wrong with him removing the bridal veil. But seeing Gufu Zhou's appearance as though he'd been struck by lightning, he added,
But I haven't washed my face, nor have I undressed.
Lin Qingyu was a little peeved. He was wearing the bridal dress with the huaidian between his eyebrows and even a little bit of rouge on his lips. No matter how unaccustomed he was to it, he didn't wash it off. And yet, Gufu Zhou still had it in him to criticize him. Gufu Zhou suddenly reacted and looked blankly at Lin Qingyu. He looked at the huaidian on his forehead, at his wandering eyes, at his red lips, at his bound slender waist. He looked at the beauty lovely enough to cause the downfall of a nation. Hello, Supernatural Writer. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the wedding night, and the husband is drunk and mad, and really is really very cute. Apologize now and I won't be angry. Wearing a wedding dress he personally selected. As he looked at him, a little bit of grievance still remaining in his eyes, as if to say, Why did you only come now? Behind Lin Qingyu was hazy candlelight and the character Shi. Tender as peach, shining splendidly. Gufu Zhou blinked.
Ah, I seem to have been coaxed by you.
What? Lin Qingyu raised his eyebrows.
So quickly? I am very good at coaxable.
Oh man, I should be doing this drunk.
I'm very good at coaxable.
Gufu Zhou walked, staggering towards Lin Qingyu.
Unlike Dr. Lin, who's super difficult to coax, and takes so long to coax each time.
Lin Qingyu stepped forward to support him. Smelling the alcohol on him, he asked,
How much alcohol did you drink?
Gufu Zhou buried his head in the crook of Lin Qingyu's neck.
I didn't want to drink either. They kept refilling my glass.
Gufu Zhou was too heavy for Lin Qingyu to support by himself, and the two tumbled onto the bridal bed together. When Gufu Zhou fell, it was as though he got stuck to the bed, unable to get back up. Lin Qingyu asked,
Who refilled your glass for you? Remember to refill theirs next time.
Gufu Zhou curled his fingers and counted them off one by one. Lin Qingyu said,
You keep counting. I'll ask someone to cook some sobering soup for you.
When Lin Qingyu turned around, Gufu Zhou, who was half drunk, suddenly stretched out his hand and wrapped his arms around his waist from behind. dragging him back. Lin Qingyu fell back onto the bed, into Gufu Zhou's arms.
Qingyu. Lao Po.
Why was it that on their wedding night, on their second wedding night, he was still calling him old woman? Lin Qingyu used his opponent's own methods to obtain retribution.
Don't shout, Lao Gong.
To put this in perspective, Lao Po back then meant old woman, but in modern times, I guess it means wife, and Lao Gong means husband. Yeah, in future times. Can't remember what Lao Gong means in past times. Gufu Zhou smiled and kept looking at him. He smiled so deeply that his eyes turned into starlit arches. When he had had enough of smiling, he made a "come here" gesture. Lin Qingyu leaned over, closer. Gufu Zhou cupped his hand next to his lips, as if to tell him a little secret. Oh, God. I'm going for it. I can do this. You can do this. Professional. You can do this. I can't do this. I can't.
I've turned bent. I've turned bent.
Lin Qingyu asked.
Bent where?
Gufu Zhou was momentarily dumbfounded. He lay back down, covering his eyes with his arm, and said aggrievedly,
"You chief culprit! You don't want to take responsibility, but still want to fucking be my closest friend. But there's no way I can turn you bent without getting your consent. You're going to infuriate me to death."
Lin Qingyu seemed to only half understand.
"What exactly does bent mean?"
Gufu Zhou closed his eyes and said softly,
"You're my type, and I want to go out with you."
Lin Qingyu frowned.
"Can you be more specific?"
Gufu Zhou. Lin Qingyu said again,
"We haven't drank our nuptial cup yet. Are you sure you want to sleep?"
Gufu Zhou seemed to really have fallen asleep, and the only response he got was the sound of gentle breathing. The author has something to say. Regardless where this salted fish is from, he usually communicates in Mandarin, so he has an accent. But that doesn't prevent him from speaking in his dialect. He's especially handsome when he sings in his dialect. I don't care, that's just the way it is. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've turned bent. What? I've turned bent. Bent where? Oh my God, I can't even. Holy goodness. Oh, Gufu Zhou's too funny. So, there we have it. Gufu Zhou has finally admitted it, and Lin Qingyu has no idea what he's talking about. Oh, heavens. Where was it? That was so cute. Where's my red veil? Where's my big red veil? He's coming in. I just imagine him like a little kid who's got his hands rubbing together. He's so excited about this. He's going to go in. His husband's he's going to unwrap his present. He's going to lift the veil of his new husband. And it's going to be a magical moment. He walks in. There's no veil. Where's my veil? Where's my big red veil? Admit you were wrong. Admit it quickly and I won't be angry. That reminds me of a Buffy quote. No, you were wrong. No, where is it? No, you were wrong. Sit there and bask in your wrongness. Admit it. You were wrong. Just bask in it. Sit there and bask in your wrongness. Oh, heavens. That's too funny. What? Oh, shoot. I have the wrong one. Oh, okay. Where did I put my bag? 1 second. Technical difficulties. I am ridiculous. Where did I put it? Wait a minute. Did I read that right? No, yeah, chapter 6. Okay. Just a second. I have been updating this while I'm at work, so I have it on a USB drive, and that's why we were reading the wrong version. That's okay. That's okay. Oh, it's a good thing I've got extras. Whew. I got backups. Yeah. That's okay. It lets me hydrate. I was wondering why it was saying that we were getting to the end. I'm like, we're not even close. Okay, table of contents. All right, and we were on going into the last chapter of this stream, which was 66. Who is Jiang Dazhuang? Who is Jiang Dazhuang? Okay, going back. Aha, see, I fixed it. So, I love that. I'm bent. Oh. Although I wonder if him saying that he's a cut sleeve would have been more articulate and easier for him to understand. Oh, heavens. I actually have a headache from laughing so hard. That was intense. Oh my god. I'm bent. You're exactly my type. Aw. Alrighty. Alright. We're actually really streaming right through this. So let's get on to it because it's very hot in here and I want to get the fan on. So let's start with marker. Excuse me. Chapter 66. Who is Jiang Dazhuang? It was early in the morning. Lin Qingyu felt someone moving beside him. He had always been a light sleeper, and since it was already his usual time to wake up, he quickly opened his eyes. He slept on the outer side of the bed, and what greeted him upon waking up was the burnt-out red candles and the morning light coming in from outside the window. Turning over slightly, the man beside him, or rather, the young man beside him, was sound asleep, lying face down. Half his face and one hand were exposed outside the quilt, while his other hand was splayed on his waist. After Gufu Zhou had passed out drunk last night, Lin Qingyu took off his wedding clothes for him and, after much difficulty, managed to shove him under the quilt. He originally planned on making do with sleeping in the study, but reconsidered. After all, it was their wedding night. During their previous wedding night, they hadn't even known each other, and they slept in the same room. If they were to sleep in separate rooms now, their 2 years of knowing each other would have been for nothing. There was only one bed in the bridal chamber, and there wasn't any Luo Han. Lin Qingyu thought about it, and using all his might, he pushed Gufu Zhou further in and simply laid down on the outer side of the bed. Lin Qingyu thought that he wouldn't sleep well. However, he didn't expect that Gufu Zhou would be so well behaved when he was asleep, even very rarely turning over. It was no wonder he could sleep through an enemy attack in Yongliang, finally having no choice but to move out with his quilt draped over his shoulders. Who's making all the damn noise? He's covered with a quilt like a... Oh, that's a cute image. Though his actual age was a full 19 years old, he still slept like a child. Lin Qingyu couldn't help but stretch out his hand and touch Gufu Zhou's straight nose. Then he made to get up, but he couldn't get up. Gufu Zhou had pinned down his hair. Aww, I don't know if you remember, but in the first chapter, or it was either the first chapter when he first got sick, He's like, oh, we can share a bed. And no, you'll pin down my hair. And sure enough, he does pin down his hair. Aw. The lower half of Lin Qingyu's long hair was completely pinned down by Gufu Zhou. If he moved a little too much, it would result in a painful pull. He tried to push Gufu Zhou away, but even after a long time, Gufu Zhou remained motionless. He also tried to grab his hair and pull it out, but not a lot of it managed to be freed. Instead, he simply hurt himself in the process, so much so that he was tempted to poison the other. Lin Qingyu couldn't bear it any longer. No amount of calling managed to get Gufu Zhou to wake up, so he went and pinched Gufu Zhou's nose shut. No matter how much Gufu Zhou loved sleeping, the obstruction to his breathing made him furrow his brows. He then opened his eyes, and seeing Lin Qingyu also opened his mouth. Lin Qingyu said coldly, "Are you awake now?" Awakened by such cruel means, Gufu Zhou was still a little dazed, a layer of mist covering his eyes. He stared intently, unable to look away at the face so close to his hand. The slow fog dissipated, and his eyes gradually became clear. "Why are you—" Gufu Zhou's voice was hoarse from having just woken up. He realized where his hands were, and his eyes widened suddenly. His fingers even curled up a bit, and it seemed as though he didn't know where to put them. "What are you doing in my bed?" Lin Qingyu said indifferently. "What do you think? Did I force you in bed with me?" Gufu Zhou was horribly shocked. "I never knew I had it in me." Lin Qingyu snorted. "Oh, just you?" He gathered up his strength and brought his fist down on Gufu Zhou's arm. "Now, get up and let go of my hair." Gufu Zhou shifted his position, and Lin Qingyu was finally freed. He sat up and said, "Since you're awake, then get up." Gufu Zhou thought back to what had happened last night. All he could remember was pushing open the door, so filled with anticipation, only to see the great beauty without his bridal veil on. His blood pressure immediately shot through the roof. After that, he had no memory of what happened. He must have passed out. Aw, he doesn't remember being bent. Oh, that's gonna tickle for a while. I love it so much. Oh my god. Oh, my face hurts. I'm smiling so much. That's such a great line. He hadn't forced Lin Qingyu to bed, so Lin Qingyu had willingly slept in the same bed? Such a good thing actually exists? Aw, he loves him. Damn! How could he have fallen asleep last night? At his age, with a beauty lying next to him. Oh, how could he have fallen asleep? Lin Qingyu watched as Gufu Zhou remained motionless. He asked, "You're not going to get up?" Gufu Zhou gradually got over his shock and said slowly, "Why are you up so early? You don't even have to serve tea to your in-laws." Lin Qingyu said, "Get up. Let's have our morning meal." "We can sleep for a while longer and just have a noontime meal when it's time." Gufu Zhou laughed under the quilt. "Qingyu, this is the first time we've slept together. Let's sleep a little longer." Lin Qingyu wasn't in the habit of lazing about in bed, but after seeing Gufu Zhou's expectant eyes, he nevertheless decided to lay back down. He gathered his long hair to one side, making sure that Gufu Zhou wouldn't be able to pin it down. The two of them lay face to face like this, making small talk. "Aww," Lin Qingyu asked. "Among the guests yesterday,
Were there any civil servants?
Gu Fuzhou absent-mindedly said,
There were a few. Not all civil servants are stupid cunts. Xiao Ji also came and brought a lot of generous gifts. This is certainly a way to make money. Qingyu, marry me a few more times and we'll quickly become the richest men in the capital.
Lin Qingyu wasn't in the mood to pay attention to Gu Fuzhou's nonsense. He focused on something useful and asked,
How's your current relationship with Xiao Ji? He admires me a lot. He even said that he wanted to try holding the Qingyun Juzhou spear with his own hands.
Only then did Lin Qingyu realize that, despite Gu Fuzhou being in the capital for so long already, he had yet to see the legendary spear.
Are you keeping the Qingyun Juzhou spear in the training grounds?
Gu Fuzhou smiled and said,
It's a gift from the royal family. Of course, I keep it in my room and show it the proper respect. In your room?
Qingyu looked around.
Where is it?
Gu Fuzhou pointed lazily at the corner.
It's there.
He saw something like a pole standing in the corner of the room. At first glance, it looked like an iron rod with silk tied on it. Gu Fuzhou added,
It makes for a good clothes hanger.
Oh God. Lin Qingyu. I can't with this boy. Honest to goodness. Honest to goodness. Having lain down for a long time, Lin Qingyu wanted to change positions. When he raised his hand, he inevitably bumped into something. He couldn't help suddenly freezing, and he quickly retracted his hand. A certain someone seemed so calm, talking and laughing with him while lying in bed. But in truth, they were actually so energetic? Oh goodness, what did he bump into? Gu Fuzhou was also momentarily stunned, and the atmosphere suddenly became a little strange. That is what he bumped into, yes. After a brief silence, Gu Fuzhou said,
What's with your reaction?
Gu Fuzhou teased.
Do you think I'll ruin your hand?
Ruin your hand? It made Lin Qingyu inexplicably want to laugh.
I don't think so. You weren't like this before. The old you...
Gu Fuzhou began to once again imitate the way he talked. Because the two of them were so familiar with each other, his imitation of Lin Qingyu was a lot better than his imitation of Xiao Cheng.
As a student of medicine, there is nothing I have not seen before. There is no need for you to make such a fuss.
Gu Fuzhou had done such a good imitation, Lin Qingyu could not refute it at all. He was indeed knowledgeable and experienced. For him, this thing was nothing more than a piece of flesh. When Wancheng was wilted before, he could even calmly offer to help him check. He himself didn't know why he reacted that way just now. I'm going to throw this out there, and I want to know what people's thoughts are. Let me know in the comments. What if Lin Qingyu is asexual? Not asexual, demisexual. So like before, he's like, it's a piece of flesh. I don't care. Like there's nothing, this has no impact on me whatsoever. But now that it's attached to this person that I love, that I have feelings for, very deep feelings for, now it's something to be, ho. Now it's something to be, you know, noticed. I'm going to put that out there because I'm getting vibes. I'm getting vibes from Lin Qingyu. After some thought, Lin Qingyu said,
It might be because you're using General Gu's body now.
I'm going to go with incredulous. What does that have to do with it?
What does that have to do with it? I have admired General Gu for a long time, and I don't want to disrespect him.
Bullshit. Bullshit. It has to do with respect. You, we're not falling for it. Bullshit. Gufu Zhou snorted coldly and said,
Come off it. You've even gotten in bed already. Are you telling me now it doesn't suit my current body?
Lin Qingyu was speechless. Deciding to simply smash a cracked pot, he said,
Yes, I do think it would ruin my hand.
Gufu Zhou applauded and said with a smile,
Nice. As expected of Dr. Lin.
Thereupon, the entire rest of the day, whenever Gufu Zhou saw Lin Qingyu, he would grab his hand, look it all over, and say,
Why does Dr. Lin's hand still look fine? When will it start to get all wrinkly?
Jesus, so cute. Lin Qingyu couldn't help but wonder whether it was the right decision to marry Gufu Zhou for the second time. That night, he ordered people to transfer the bunk beds from the Lin residence into the bridal chamber. For 3 days following the wedding, Gufu Zhou was not required to attend court. While Lin Qingyu was ordering the servants to put away the things he'd brought, Gufu Zhou was by his side, idling about. He saw a locked wooden box and asked casually,
What's inside?
Lin Qingyu glanced at him and then waved the servant away. He opened the wooden box and said,
It's General Gu's memorial tablet. Is there a hidden room in this mansion? I'll ask Yan Yin to find a room for you later. Looks like there's 2 tablets. Who's the other one?
Lin Qingyu's tone turned subtle.
You can pick it up and take a look.
Gufu Zhou took out the 2 tablets. One was indeed General Gu's tablet, and the other was... Gufu Zhou almost threw what was in his hand.
What's this? Who's Dazhuang?
Oh, no way. Lin Qingyu said without batting an eyelash. I completely forgot the name. Oh, just a sec. What's this say? I see. Okay.
Back then, whether you managed to survive or not was unknown. I decided to have a memorial tablet made for you. If you had really died, without a memorial tablet, you wouldn't even be able to enjoy the incense offerings of future generations. I understand your good intentions.
Gufu Zhou's expression was complicated.
But why did you think this is my name?
Lin Qingyu gave a half smile.
You told me yourself. At first, you said your name was Dazhuang, and then you changed your name to Jiang. So it was natural. So naturally, it must be Jiang Dazhuang.
Gufu Zhou laughed and said,
You know I was joking. Why did you take it seriously?
With a bang, Lin Qingyu suddenly closed the lid of the wooden box.
If I didn't take it to be true, then what should I have done? I don't know your name at all.
Lin Qingyu's Adam's apple bobbed up and down.
I asked you, but you didn't tell me.
Gufu Zhou frowned, expression turning serious.
When did you ask me?
Knowing clearly that it was just his own dream, saying it out loud felt unreasonable. But Lin Qingyu couldn't help but accuse him.
On the 7th day after your death, I asked you. I asked you so many times. I chased after you asking you, but you still walked away without even looking back.
Gufu Zhou murmured.
Wasn't that a dream? Fuck. Is it possible to connect using dreams?
Lin Qingyu's eyes narrowed.
What do you mean?
Lin Qingyu sat at the table and watched as Gufu Zhou dragged a stool to his side. Even though both of them were sitting, Gufu Zhou was still a lot taller than him. When talking to him, he had to bend down and bow his head.
I'm sorry, Qingyu. I didn't know if I could survive.
Lin Qingyu said in surprise.
You know of that dream?
Gufu Zhou nodded.
After I had that dream, I woke up in General Gu's body.
Lin Qingyu stood up abruptly.
So that was really you? You really didn't want to tell me your name? If I died, I just thought it would be easier for you to forget about me if you didn't know my name.
Lin Qingyu gritted his teeth and said,
You know I have a highly retentive memory. I couldn't even forget the rooster that took your place at our wedding. What made you think I could forget you?
Gufu Zhou chuckled lightly.
I was wrong.
Gufu Zhou took his hand. One standing, the other sitting. It was now him looking down at Gufu Zhou. Gufu Zhou looked up at him and said,
I'll tell you now, okay? My name sounds nice. I don't want to know anymore.
Lin Qingyu turned his head away.
I don't want to know anymore.
Lin Qingyu turned his head away from looking at him and said calmly,
I don't care what your name is. It has nothing to do with me.
Gufu Zhou, making a big show of being earnest, said,
It's over. It's over. This seems to be the angriest Dr. Lin has been since our reunion. He's even angrier than when he wasn't sure whether Shen Huishi had missed or gone half-hearted. Had missed or gone soft-hearted.
Lin Qingyu was indeed angry. When he thought of how upset he'd felt, like he'd lost, when he woke up from the dream, he wanted to strangle Gufu Zhou to death.
Letting you touch my abs isn't enough to coax you anymore, so how about I let you rub your face against it?
He was so angry, but this man was still in the mood to joke. Lin Qingyu was completely expressionless.
Forget it. I'm afraid of ruining my face.
I hate people like that. Those ones where you're honestly mad about something, or you're trying to have a real conversation and they want to joke about, and they want to make a joke of it and try and make light of the situation. That makes me so mad. Lin Qingyu is my spirit animal. I agree with him on all points. Like, Jesus. That's so frustrating. Ugh, I want to strangle Gufu Zhou. You're such a shithead. Don't marry a slacker who is younger than yourself. I don't know what that'll be, but that's next week's. Hopefully. No, wait. Because not next week, but the week after. Then we'll have more of this. Oh, it ended on a good place, too. I love that, though. So they've connected. They actually did connect through dreams, which we thought, but we didn't have confirmed. Now it's confirmed. But, oh. Gufu Zhou is so fucking annoying. See, it's funny. I'm going to make a joke. It's going to be fine. Ha, ha, ha. It's not fucking fine. Our boy went through hell. He was sad whole time. He didn't want to admit it, so he was internally sad. And then telling himself, don't be sad. That's worse. Ugh. You know what? Damn right Gufu Zhou had to go through all of that shit to get back to Lin Qingyu. He fucker deserved it. Does not deserve it easy. He has to make up for the shit that he pulled. Ugh. And so, I'm mad. I'm mad at him. Lin Qingyu, stab him. Better that. Use your needles to make him impotent again. That's what he deserves. All right. We're going to be mad about that for a while. Let's see here. If I have viewers, then I'll raid. But if not, then I won't. Let me see what we've got. That sounds like the openings of a Disney song. Okay, so there's someone on here who's about to start reading Heaven Official's Blessing. And I don't know how I feel about that. Let me see here. I hope I'm going to mute browser so that you guys can't hear it. Just in case it... Let's see here. They've got tons of followers. And do they do reading streams? Oops, I'm hitting all the wrong things. Let's see here. They don't traditionally do reading streams. Mainly it's a lot of... Oh, but they have done some. I am confused. Okay, so they've done some Heaven Official's Blessing. I'm just confused by it. Okay. Are you kidding? I would love to do Heaven Official's Blessing. But don't know if I can. So they don't have anything happening? I'm so confused. I'm not Chinese, and I'm not fluent in Chinese, so I probably mispronounce things. That's fair. They've done a really cute setup, though. Fuck, I'd love to do Heaven Official's Blessing. The only thing is that as many times as I've reread Heaven Official's Blessing, I skip the really painful parts. Oh, Supernatural Writer, you're still here. Hello? I might stop in and see this person. Oh, wait, are they even still... I should check and see if that's still happening. Oh, no, they're not. They're done. They could have accidentally left the stream up if they're not talking stuff. Okay, so our options are... That's okay. That's okay. No worries. So our options are, we have got reading The Fault in Our Stars aloud, or we have The Picture of Dorian Gray, Day 4. I'm kind of leaning towards the reading The Fault in Our Stars aloud, not because the book, but only because she only has one viewer, and people's deserve more. So I think I really do feel bad for this guy who's reading Harry Potter and all the Harry Potter books. I wonder if he's fixed his audio yet. Okay. Wait, let me just check out her page. I've got that stupid song stuck in my head. You know the song in Beauty and the Beast where they're marching up the hill? Okay, I'm gonna go with this person. Okay, Gianna Iguana. I don't think that's how you say it or pronounce it, but that's what I'm going with. All right, so Supernatural, are you still with me? Do you want to go visit someone? Because we can do that now. Now that I've found someone who can always... Let's see here. Okay. Okay, it would help if I could... Oh, let me just move that. Okay. So, where is that? Juana. And Iguana. She's got two people. I do not care. Okay. I have no idea what this... Oh, I should check and make sure it's in English, I feel. Let me see.
Do you want another chapter? I can read another chapter. It's 15 pages.
Okay, we'll do this.
Yeah? If you want. Yeah, sure.
7, 6, 5,
What?
4, 3, 2, 1.
Don't
Cue
know.
panic!
Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay. another chapter.
Read it to me.
Get comfortable. If you want to. Oh, party of two. Thank you for coming. I'm reading The Fault in Our Stars. And we're just starting chapter 2. Oh, that's funny. All right, well, I hope you like books. And I hope you like John Green. All right, chapter 2. Okay. Augustus Waters drove horrifically. Whether stopping or starting, everything happened with a tremendous jolt. I flew across the seatbelts of his Toyota SUV every time he braked, and my neck snapped backward every time he hit the gas. I might have been nervous, what with sitting in the car of a strange boy on their way to a house, keenly aware of my crap lungs' complicated efforts to fend off unwanted advances, but his driving was so astonishingly poor that I could think of nothing else. He'd gone perhaps a mile in jaded silence before Augustus said, "I failed the driving test 3 times. You don't say." He laughed, nodding. Well, I can't feel pressure in the old prosty, and I can't get the hang of driving left-footed. My doctors say most amputees can drive with no problem, but yeah, not me. Anyway, I go on for my 4th driving test, and it goes about like this going.
Alrighty, I'm gonna head out. And yeah. So thank you so much for joining me, Supernatural Writer, and all my others lurking. I do see you. All right, thank you so much. Oh, I wanted to mention, I have to update this schedule. I will not be streaming tomorrow, this Wednesday, as I've got an appointment. So I'm going to be moving that to Thursday. Now, it's going to be a floating Thursday. I'm not sure if I'll do it in the evening at around 7 or 8, or whether or not I'll do it during the day. Either way, at some point tomorrow, at some point on Thursday, there will be four new chapters of The Wife is First. Excuse me. So yeah. So that will be happening at some point on Thursday, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's not happening, Thursday happening. Yes, okay, I've got that. We're good. We're clear. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you again next time on Thursday or next Tuesday. Once again, remember, next Tuesday when we come back, we won't be continuing with Married Thrice to Salted Fish. We'll do an extra episode of The Wife is First, and then the week after that, the Tuesday after that, hopefully we will have some new streams some new chapters of Married Thrice to Salted Fish. I also may look into starting up a 3rd Danmei. We will see. I'm having slight issues right now keeping up with the 1 or with the 2. But that said, to give one more attention than the other seems unfair. So I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll think about it. All right, with that out of the way, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you had a wonderful time. And until next time, thank you so much. Have a good night. Thank you for listening. And until next time, happy listening. That's what I was trying to think about. All right.